Hi, I'm Lauren. This is my husband Mike, and we are part of Dr. Mercier's The Shared Journey Fertility Program. Our journey to conceive was about a year and a half ago. We found out, we started trying after our 1 year anniversary and figured that was a good time to start our family. And we started trying, and a month later we had found out we were pregnant. So it was, quite a relief, and just to see that we got pregnant on the first try. And we've heard so many friends and just stories of people where it's taken them, a few years or they have issues. So we were just so blessed and relieved that it happened so quickly. Um, Fast forward, we went to our first appointment at 10 weeks. Um, and going into that appointment, I all of a sudden just felt as though I had a bad feeling something had happened. And I remember we went into that appointment that day, and I just said, no matter what happens, we have each other. And sure enough, we went in and found out we had miscarried. And obviously it was just heartbreaking. I know it's extremely common, but just all the excitement just had come to an end, and that we had to experience that. And we ended up having a DNC, and one of the challenges I faced was that after I would miscarry, it would take me almost 3 months just to get another menstrual cycle. So there was a lot of frustration around it. It wasn't something that I just got right away like some women did. So I got my menstrual period 3 months later, and we started trying again, and just kind of assumed that we'd get pregnant right away because it happened the first time. Fast forward to 6 months, we still hadn't conceived. So out of frustration, I decided to reach out to a fertility doctor, just to start the steps to understand if there was any issues. And right after we had our first consult with him, we actually found out in April that we conceived. And of course we were excited, thinking that this horror story was over, and it was just beginner's luck. So in May of last year, I went to the doctor, and again just didn't have a great feeling, and had found out that I miscarried again. During that time was obviously hard with COVID and not having my husband there with me, and just going through that at the doctor's office by myself. And at that point I had asked my OB, what can I do? This is the second time this has happened to me. I want to understand if there's an issue, and I was told that they wouldn't help me until I had a third miscarriage, which was just so frustrating to hear, and that they weren't willing to help me. And so at that time I just said, at this point I must, go back and start working with the fertility doctor and just kind of continue the steps forward. So I had the DNC, and once I got a menstrual cycle again, we were to start kind of the process to understand if anything was going on. It was right around that time that I believe fate connected me with an old friend I went to high school with. Her name's Carrie Gruber, and we went on a walk, and she said, she had heard about my second miscarriage, and she told me, I want to tell you that I think there's someone that you need to go see. And I said, well, at this point I'm desperate, I'll do whatever it is. And she said, well, she's a holistic doctor, and her name's Dr. Jennifer Mercier. And I said, well, I've never heard of this. We've done Googling and searching, trying to find. I've never come across this. And she's, explained how she found Dr. Mercier, and she just told me, you have to trust me, and I believe she can help you. And she then told me at the time, she looked down and put her hands on her stomach and said, I'm actually pregnant, and I'm 17 weeks along. And I just remember I was so happy for her, because she had experienced several miscarriages and IVF, several losses. And I just thought, if she's at this stage and she's this far along, that this was something we would have to look into. And honestly, I was of course a little skeptical, thinking, is this gonna do it for us? And I remember going home that day, she sent me the link, and I was researching the program online and came across some testimonials and just what it is Dr. Jen did. And I remember calling my husband into my office, and I just had, showed him the website and said, I want you to look through this, but I think that this is something we should really try. And there was no doubt in our minds that this was something we wanted to try. So I think 2 weeks later, I had an appointment and came in to see Dr. Jen, and I just remember kind of walking into her office, and I just knew that this was going to be it. There was something about this place that I knew she was going to be able to help me. And I just remember the first time I met her, she just immediately gave me a hug and sat down and wanted to know everything that we had been through. And I would just say by the time I left here, I was pretty certain that we were going to move forward. She goes, "Why don't you just go home and think about it?" I said, "There's nothing to think about. Sign us up." We're going to move forward with the Shared Journey Fertility Program. And so it was a 6-week long program, and I came in once a week to work with Dr. Jen. During that time, I also was still seeing the fertility doctor just to rule out if there was anything else internally that could have been an issue. And off the bat, we started the tests, and it just sounded like from the start, it was, once we go through the process and we can check off all the boxes, we're going to start IVF or Clomid or IUI. And I just kept thinking, well, is there any other way to do this naturally and not have to resort to that? And it was basically, this is what we do, and we're going to get you set up for IVF, and we're going to move forward. And I was just hesitant, knowing that I was getting pregnant naturally, that I just wasn't sure that was something that I needed. And we did go through the steps. Along the way, they did discover my thyroid was actually high for the world of fertility, so I was put on medicine for that. So that also just could have been an outlier to my situation overall. And we just moved through the steps, and at the same time I was working with Dr. Jen. And when I got through kind of that last process with the IVF doctor, they said, "Okay, well, you're cleared, we've checked everything, so call us and we'll come in and we'll get you started on IVF." And I just kind of thought, like, it just seemed so impersonal and not something I wanted to do. And every time I worked with Dr. Jen, she just kind of reiterated, we're going to do this naturally, and you don't need IVF, and that once we work together, you're going to get pregnant. And just knowing how confident she was and in the work she did, I honestly trusted her throughout this whole process more than anyone else. And so after the 6 weeks with Dr. Jen, on the last day of the appointment, she gave me some supplements that she felt would be right for me. And then we started tracking our cycles once I finally got my menstrual period. And that month of trying, we found out we were pregnant. And I would just say that it was just a complete sigh of relief. And I remember running downstairs. Of course, I took an early pregnancy test that I was supposed to wait for, but of course couldn't. So I took it 5 days sooner. And I just remember running downstairs and with the pregnancy test in my hand, and just said to my husband, just so emotional that, I was pregnant. And I think I just felt that way, knowing like we both knew this was it, and that Dr. Jen's work, I just felt different. Everything just felt different. So here we are. I'm now 23 weeks along, and I'm due in May. And it's just been an incredible journey. And, I think part of it too, and I'm sure you can agree with this, is one thing with Dr. Jen is, I was in a very bad place and emotionally. And just every time I came here, I left just feeling just relief and happiness, and knowing that there's not a better feeling in the world, knowing you have someone at your disposal like Dr. Jen that you can call and reach out to, and you're not going to get a voicemail or hear back days later. She's truly there to help you, and that's probably one of the best parts of working with Dr. Jen.
Yeah, I think bringing in a lot of hope each time Lauren would come home from the appointments, week over week, more excited, more bought in, versus kind of some of the conventional medical expertise we were getting previously on the conventional side. So again, just the happiness, joy, and again, ultimately hope. We previously felt we were kind of beating our heads up against the wall with the previous doctors that we were seeing, and couldn't be more happy currently with the results.
Yeah. So, anyone out there hearing this, all I have to say is that I would call Dr. Jen a miracle worker. I really, truly have never met anyone like her. She's just a wonderful person, a wonderful friend, and if anyone out there struggling, I would say there's no doubt in my mind I would recommend Dr. Jen. And while this is, I still have some time to go, I can already tell you I will probably be back the next time around. So, Dr. Jen, thank you for all you've done for us, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you.